There's guys that are like, yeah, I know the gospel, but that's for later. That's not for now.
All of a sudden now I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm sitting over there clapping for somebody else.
I need you to see me in the spotlight.
This is important because God's given you these talents, but this isn't about you.
Yeah.
This is about glorification of God. I hope that I can change one.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Courageous Conversations podcast. And let me tell you, you are in for a treat today. We have got my friend and colleague, the Coach Trey Lawrence, with us on the podcast. So, Coach, how are you today?
I'm fantastic.
I know, and I can speak for our audience. We're excited to have you. Hey, so quick question as we get the conversation started. How long you been at Briarcrest? How long you been around this place?
12 years.
12 years. How long in the high school?
11.
11, and you've spent majority of those years teaching and coaching at the same time,
Yep.
right?
Teaching U.S. history, taught some freshman classes, taught a couple government classes, but for the most part, been teaching juniors for 11 years.
So spend some time getting your feet wet doing all that, and coaching as well. Coaching which sport?
Basketball.
Basketball, sport that you played, right?
Right.
Okay, so I think a great way to get your story rolling is just tell us a little bit about that. Like, you obviously ended up coaching basketball because you played basketball, spent a lot of time in the gym, probably would have been referred to as a gym rat, just spending
Yes.
hours upon hours upon hours in the gym, developed a love for the basketball. Start us there on just our journey with you.
Okay, so the basketball journey actually started, I guess I was going into the 5th grade. So my father went into the ministry, took a youth pastor position between my 4th grade and 5th grade years in school. And but the church was about 35, 40 minutes away from home. So we were at church on Sundays and Wednesdays pretty much all day long. But the church had a gym. So if you're stuck at church and there's nothing to do, you go to the gym. So at that point, that's kind of where the whole basketball journey kind of kicked off, so to speak. So grew up in an athletic family, but like I said, parents are in the ministry together, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it was what I wanted to do.
And how long did it take you to figure out that you're actually pretty good at basketball?
I would say pretty early. I had a knack for it. It came easy. But the biggest draw I had for athletics just in general is I just like to compete. Yeah. And when it's all said and done, I'm in the gym all the time. Anybody walks in, you play. Yeah. But at the same time, if you're by yourself, you just shoot and shoot some more.
And then get pretty good at it too,
get
right?
pretty good at it.
Especially if you got a knack for it. So that started late elementary school into middle school, right? You're playing, and then you're growing, you're getting better and you're better and you're better. Then you get to high school and you start probably seeing some of that hard work in the gym pay off a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing about being in the gym is when your dad's a youth pastor, when you're in elementary school, you're trying to get into games with older people.
Yeah.
So it kind of snowballed on me, so to speak. I mean, I got pretty good pretty quick because if they needed a 5th or if they needed an extra one, I was the extra one.
Yeah, you're the 7th grader playing with some of the 11th graders, right? Like You're sitting here, and all of a sudden and that elevates you because you're so competitive. You're not going to throw the towel in. You're going to try to elevate to where they're at, and all of a sudden you wake up and you're in 10th grade and you're probably better than most seniors, right?
That's right.
So then take us a little bit on that journey spiritually. So obviously you're growing and you're developing in basketball. You've got parents, your dad's taking a youth pastor position, you're spending a lot of time at church, you're growing up around hearing about Jesus all the time. But what does that then look like as you're growing in basketball? Like, how does spiritual life even factor in at that point in your life?
Well, it's twofold. As a pastor's kid, and I'll throw this out there for all pastors' kids, you kind of live in a fishbowl, being everybody in church knows who you are, knows what you're doing, if you're up to something. And I didn't do well with that, simply because I always saw that as a double standard. Now, as an adult, you look back and you understand that, people that are in certain positions have different standards to be held to. And it's whether you like it or not, it is what it is.
Yes.
There was an initial problem, but at the same time, because I began to get good at playing basketball so quickly, I was full of myself.
Yeah. And probably, I've noticed this pattern just in my own life, never with athletics, because that's not ever going to be the problem for me. But like when you're good at something, that can easily become the identity, the idol, the thing that gives you worth and esteem. And obviously with you, that just happened to be basketball.
Right.
And so you're growing up, and would you say, I mean, is it fair to categorize as you grew up, there was kind of maybe just a simmering animosity against just kind of maybe at least some things within church world that you were growing up with?
All things in church world.
Yeah.
And once again, as an adult, you look back and you understand what that was. But as a 13, 14, 15-year-old kid, I rebelled against the authority there. I didn't like church in general because I felt like I was, like I said a while ago, in a fishbowl, which everybody had their eyes on me. Probably not the case.
Yeah.
It just felt that way.
Sure.
And my escape from all of that was the gym.
Yeah.
And so my identity was wrapped up in how many baskets can I make?
Yeah. And that was probably very easy to either rise and fall based on a performance in a game, right?
Exactly.
Which that doesn't give you stability.
No.
But one of the things you also remarked as we have just talked through your story, talked about your parents and how much they loved you and how much they continued to pour into you. So as I'm imagining, as you're getting older, you're getting better at basketball, you've got this animosity against, the thing that they're spending a lot of time pouring into, right? Like but yet they kept loving you through that.
Well, regardless, I mean, I give my parents a lot of credit because everybody loves their kids, but I wasn't an easy kid.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I was any trouble. I mean, that's not it. It's just I was rebellious against authority. I was rebellious against school. I had no use for school. I mean, other than the facility to play.
Yeah, you needed a place to play basketball.
I needed a place to play. But so my parents spent a lot of time trying to keep me in the church world.
Yeah.
Even though I was there, it was, hey, you've got to go to Sunday school. You've got to go to church training, if anybody even knows really what that is anymore.
Yeah.
For
those who don't, what is church training?
Well, that's Sunday school at night.
Okay. So it's just like bonus Sunday school.
Right. It's bonus Sunday school. Yeah.
So you would probably, as you were growing up, you would have gotten the like great attendance awards and things like that. You were there.
I was there.
Yeah.
I was there.
You were there.
In flesh.
Yeah.
Between my ears, mentally, no, absolutely not.
Well, and it's interesting because obviously, spoiler alert, like you didn't stay there. Your heart softened. Like you saw the Lord move mightily in your life. But in that season, that's what your parents' prayer was for you, right?
Right.
So just to take a quick, brief side conversation. We'll have parents that'll listen to this who might be raising that child who has the rebellion against authority. And these are parents that, just like yours, are doing all the right things to sow the right gospel seeds into their kids' lives, and their kids just are struggling with it. Maybe give those parents a little bit of hope, right? Like, what is the thing that maybe your parents were saying to you in that season that they were seeds that maybe didn't start growing until your late 20s, but just things that stood out of just a word of hope for the parent who's in that situation right now?
Well, the thing about my parents and our relationship as I was growing up as a elementary school kid, as a teenager, even as a young adult away from home, they still wanted me to go to church. They still prayed for me and let me know. They when I was doing. And once again, I'm not saying I was out doing really wrong things, but just attitudes and relationships and the way I treated folks, that they held me accountable.
Yeah.
But at the same time said, I love you and I don't want you to be this way.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when it's all said and done, as a 20-something, I understood what all that was. Now, fortunately, as a 17, 18-year-old kid, I gave my heart to Christ.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I had to work through some things just because I planted my own seeds as a teenager that I had to work through and deal with, that, as a 20-something, that I understood what my parents were doing.
Yeah. And I love that you said that, because that's something you remarked to our guys. Like you and I got up and got to have a great conversation with our high school guys a couple of weeks ago, and you talked about planting seeds. So like obviously we can plant gospel seeds,
Right.
But for those, it sounds like in some of the conversations that I've had over the years, there's guys that are like, yeah, I know the gospel, but that's for later. That's not for now. And you're right. You're planting seeds. Like you're going out and planting seeds, ultimately of destruction. That yes, God's grace can cover,
Right.
and it will if you trust in Him. And yes, it can overcome. But that's a lot of spiritual roundup that has to go into the soil of your heart to round those things up, right?
Right. It's needless. But once again, as a sinful individual,
Yeah.
as a person that loves himself a lot,
Yeah.
as a person that thinks very highly of himself, even though sometimes he shouldn't be, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. And so you're growing up. You're a great ball player in high school. What did that then lead to in college?
Well, it led to a fall. I mean, I was a very good high school basketball player, but there's some things that I was missing, and one being I'm 6 feet 1 inch tall. I mean, you get to the collegiate level, I'm small.
Yeah.
So that creates some problems, and because I can't deal with the height issue, I mean, I was still a collegiate player. I still was there for 4 years. They still paid for some of my school.
Yeah.
When it was all said and done, my identity that was basketball and my ability to produce in those arenas, so to speak, all of a sudden now I can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can practice, but there is not 2,000 people getting to watch it on a Saturday or a Monday.
Yeah.
I'm sitting over there clapping for somebody else, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
And not that but when you've glorified yourself and you've puffed yourself up and put yourself in the forefront of everything that you do, and then all of a sudden you're not able to do that because you're not in that season of life anymore, you've got some significant problems to deal with, and I had those.
Yeah, and it's so interesting how your story parallels mine in that way, because I go off to college and the Lord starts to give me opportunities to have a microphone in my hand and have conversations in front of large crowds.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm really good at this. And everybody tells me, you're really good at this. And so you then keep seeking out those opportunities, but it was not to glorify Jesus. There was a lot of self-glorification. It was all about, hey, I need you to see me in the spotlight. And so all those things keep happening throughout college. I graduate college, I move back to Memphis, I start going to seminary, I get married, and it's all stripped away. And so you're right. It's like I could go and practice a sermon in the mirror or practice speaking in front of people in the mirror, but there's no one to watch. There's no, it's all gone. And it led to, I mean, I think that's the best way to describe it, is a crash. Like you're 22, 23 years old, the thing that is your identity has been completely stripped from you.
Right.
And you're kind of sitting there trying to pick up the pieces of an idol that could only sustain you for so long and then eviscerated, right? It's just gone. So at that age, you know, you're looking around and going, it's done. Like there's no, how is the Lord working in that particular season?
Well, let's talk about just sports in general. And this is because I am a coach and because I know how this is going to end for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what sport you're in, it's going to end at some point. Mm-hmm. It may end when you're 13. It may end when you're 18. It may end when you're 22. It may end when you're 40. Mm-hmm. But it's going to end. And so, where have you put your eggs? What basket are those in? Are they strictly in sports? If so, when it's done, you're going to have a hard time.
Yeah.
Now, as a coach, now because I know, because I've been there, because I've done that, because I've got the T-shirt.
Yeah.
When I've been fortunate enough to say, look, guys, this is important because God's given you these talents, but this isn't about you. Yeah. This is about glorification of God. This is about how can I use my talents to be able to tell somebody down the road.
Yeah.
And as we were talking the other day, that's something that I can say going back to my parents. My parents said a lot of prayers. My parents put me in a situation to where I knew about Christ. I knew what this is supposed to look like, and they were great models, and they prayed over me, cried over me, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But when it was all said and done, I'm 51 years old, and I talk to 100 and 110 kids every day and have the opportunity to share the Christ with 110 kids, if not more, 180 days in a school year.
Yeah. And some of those kids will listen to you, maybe not in the classroom, but on the basketball court about this stuff because God has now taken that talent that you wanted to use to glorify yourself, and he's using it to glorify him. And that's such a bigger purpose because, let's say I leave this place in 2 years. In 5 years, it's just moved on. But if I make my identity out of just being director of student ministries at Briarcrest, that only takes you so far. Right. At some point, that ends. At some point, if I'm 70 and retire, if I'm 40 and whatever, like it ends. But the idea of glorifying Christ is so much bigger and so much greater on an eternal perspective.
Right. Well, and the thing is, what I hope I can give to this place is I hope that I can change just one teenager to where they understand, because the scripture says if you plant seeds, it's going to multiply.
Yep.
I mean, and once again, as my parents planted seeds in me, and it's multiplying. Nobody's going to come back and say that Patsy and Ed Lawrence talked to this kid or that kid if they never taught them. But Trey Lawrence can.
Yep. And those are the seeds that your parents planted. Right. And here's the wild thing, and this is what stood out to me about your story. Your parents were planting seeds when they weren't seeing the growth. They just kept doing it.
Years.
And that's, I think, so one of the reasons, I have a love-hate relationship with yard work, but one of the reasons I love it is because you can see the result. Like you mow the grass and you see the lines, right? Like you trim the hedges and then they look better. You lay the mulch down and it looks like you vacuumed your yard. Like you can see it.
Right.
That's not ministry. That's not parenting either.
No.
Like, I mean,
absolutely not.
If you are expecting instant gratification in parenting, like to see the results of planting the seeds, you're going to be sorely disappointed and probably just punt on it. You're going to be like, well, there's no reason to keep having the same conversation, because I would imagine that Ed probably sat down with you and had some of the same conversations over and over and over again, right?
For years.
Yes. And so if you're sitting here, well, I told him once, it didn't take, or it's not growing yet, I'm just going to be done with this.
Right.
And I think in our kind of instant gratification, high-speed internet, everything on our phone, Chat GPT, AI world, where I can, have a dissertation on a subject in a matter of seconds because we expect to have, as parents, this instant gratification, or seeing our kids thriving in a relationship with the Lord, when it's this Proverbs 22:6, we train a child up and when he is old, right?
Right.
That, like, it's the hope. I'm playing the long game here, but that means I got to do the difficult things every day to get to the place where I've done what God's called me to do as a dad, which is to sow those seeds faithfully.
Correct. And hopefully the seeds that my parents sowed, I've been able to sow in my children, and those are going to multiply as well.
Yeah. Now, what would you say, because let's go back to just the crash, because I'm imagining you're probably 22, 23 when you really felt that, right?
About 20.
Yeah. What was that? What would you say? Because we got a lot of alumni that graduate from this place, and they're all very good at things.
Oh, very.
And I remember the first time. I went to one of our musicals. Like, it was probably my first year working here, so this would have been almost 10 years ago. And just watching some of these students that were in my class on that stage, and I was like, I was blown away by the level of talent. I mean, it was just like, the kid is in my class, and there he is up on stage. Like, he's normally half asleep in apologetics, and now he's like up there singing. I mean, it was wild to me.
Right.
But at some point, if you're good on a stage, if you're good on a field or a court, like, you're right, it will end. And some of them might be experiencing that right now. Like, they might feel like you were tempted to feel, which was, I peaked in, senior year of high school when it came to basketball. What would you say to the person who's in that season of crash? What does it look like to turn to the Lord in that moment and let him begin to pick the pieces up?
Well, I'll talk about what I did. Now, I am a Christian, and I know better. Mm-hmm. I ran. Mm. I mean, I'm mad at God. Mm-hmm. I'm mad that it didn't work out for me. I was basically, I wasn't going to church regularly. Yeah. I'd get home. I'd get home, and why weren't you at church, or why were you here, or why were you there? And I didn't want to go. Mm-hmm. And because I was a long way away from where I needed to be, because I couldn't deal. And the thing about it is, if I would have leaned into my faith, if I would have searched for the peace that Christ promises, my life would have been infinitely better. But that's not what I did. And I took off. And my academics at college were not good, and my relationships weren't good, and it was just a very tumultuous, difficult, trying, sad, angry time. And like I said earlier, it didn't have to be that way.
I love that too, because what I'm hearing for, the 21-year-old who might be listening to this, who is in the middle of that crash, like what you're saying, hey, don't do what I did. Like it doesn't have to be the next half a decade of you running from the God you know exists and know who loves you. You can run to him and see that when he talks about providing you peace and joy, like that's available to you, even though the identity piece that you thought was your penultimate thing about life, it's been removed. You still have Jesus, and that's all you really need.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's absolutely it. And the thing about it is I was given a gift. And I'm not going to sit here and say that athletics is important in everyday life, but God gave me this, and I was supposed to use it. And I refuse to use it that way. And I'm not sitting here saying athletics are bad, because I think athletics are extraordinarily important in lots of people's lives, mine included. But we have to grasp the fact that God reached down and said, hey, this is your gift, use it. And there are lots of people that he's granted that to. And the ones that use it for God's glory see blessings and see benefits from it. But I can tell you, the folks that don't use it to glorify God, there's an emptiness there.
Oh, for sure. And, it's interesting when you view it as a gift that's from God for you to steward.
Right.
If he removes it from you in one aspect of maybe playing and gives it to you in another aspect of coaching, you're like, okay, this is your gift. I'm just going to do with it what you told me to do with it.
And there's some fulfillment there.
Absolutely. Versus the angst of not having the way you wanted it in your flesh.
Right.
And so you spent time running from the Lord, and you were still just kind of angry. What was it and what did that season look like where that simmered, where that began to finally subside and you began to see things? So clearly you're not talking like 21-year-old Trey Lawrence would be talking.
No, I'm mid to late 20s, and I'm married. I've the issues that I had was my parents had done right by me. Trey, you're wrong. Trey, this is not how you're supposed to be living. Trey, this is what you need to be doing. And I'm angry with that. I don't want to be called on the carpet. I don't want to be told that, hey, dude, you're a Christian. You're supposed to be doing X, 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 and X. Instead, I'm doing all the other stuff that's involved. But my parents, who have an adult child who is married, living in another house, saying, look, man, you've got to do what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be glorifying Christ. You're a child of the kingdom. But you're not living that way. But when it's all said and done, and I'm not going to say it was a light bulb moment, because it wasn't just a snap of the fingers and you got it. But there was a point in time where I'm like, yeah, I'm wrong, and yes, this is what needs to happen, and this is how it's supposed to be, and this is what it's supposed to look like, and I will give both of my parents and my wife credit for that, because it wasn't me.
Well, and 3 of the most freeing words in the English language. Yeah, I'm wrong. You finally just go, all right, that's on me. You're like, oh.
Right.
But
for sure.
The other thing I hear you say is like parenting doesn't stop when your kid's 18.
No.
I know you know this because you got a kid that's older than 18, but like it doesn't stop the moment that they become legal adults. Like they were still pursuing you because they love you and love the Lord, right?
Right.
And they were still calling. Now, here's the other thing that I love that you said, because it's easy for those of us who can struggle with people pleasing to not want to have the hard conversations. But it sounds like they were willing to have the hard conversations and possibly tick you off
with a person that's not a people pleaser.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, you don't. That's not your
worried,
struggle.
I'm not worried about pleasing people. Unfortunately, me and Miss Longworth have this discussion. My spiritual gift is prophecy.
Yeah.
Which is. telling people when they're out of bounds.
Sure. And as I struggle with the fear of man element, the flip side of that, my prayer is always for boldness. So maybe just out of just a quick little side note, as you've grown in just being the prophetic voice in people's lives, telling them what they need to hear, and if they don't want to hear it, how has the Lord refined that gift?
Well, the thing that the Lord has done with that particular gift is, one, I'm not that smart. I mean, Lord, the Lord has laid it out. This is how you should behave. This is what you should be doing. This is how you worship. This is how you pray.
Yeah.
There aren't any real questions as far as Scripture is concerned.
Sure.
So fortunately, if it goes counter to that, if I am in the position to say this is what needs to happen, that's usually what comes out. And it's usually not really well received. But I think some upbringing and the struggles that I had as a child and as a teenager and as a young adult has put me in a position where at this point in my life, I really don't care. I mean, if the Lord says
Sure.
this is what it is, this is what it is.
Well, and the other thing is, like, most people forget that at some point they were probably offended on their way to meeting Jesus. Right. I mean, the whole gospel message is offensive. It's
I'm not my God.
Exactly. Well, and it's telling somebody you are so sinful that you need God to die for you in order to fix that.
Right.
And most of us we don't want to hear that. We're just like, no, I'm not. He is, but I'm not.
Right.
I'm not that bad.
And like I said, I was not a bad kid.
Yeah.
Outside of being disrespectful and being hard-headed.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't get into any trouble. My parents knew where I was on Friday nights, which is kind of funny. I was in the gym on Friday night.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't running around. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't smoking. They knew.
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon, gym, Sunday. Between church, gym. It wasn't like I was doing anything questionable.
Sure. And I think that's another word of caution for some of us, because it's easy to think because we aren't doing A, B, C, or X, Y, and Z, we're fine. But what you're saying is my heart still wasn't where it needed to be.
No, my heart was worried about, hey, I want to play this game. I want to be good, and I want people to say, Trey Lawrence, you're the best basketball player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Well, and even if they said that, to your point, that wouldn't have lasted.
About 5 seconds.
Yeah. And then it would have just been, it's always more. I need more. There was actually a really interesting video that came out. I need to show my classes. Mr. Beast, he's got this YouTube channel with 443 million subscribers. He dropped a video that he filmed, I guess, 11 years ago. And he said, I hope that when this video comes out in 10 years or 11 years or whatever it was, I hope I have over 1 million subscribers. That's all I want. I just want to have 1 million subscribers. I just need 1 million subscribers. And he just kept saying that over and over and over again. And now he's got exponentially more than that. But then the question does he
feel better about that?
Well, that's the whole point. It's you have everything you could have asked for and imagined. I mean, you probably have net worth of north of $1 billion. Is it really everything it was cracked up to be? Is it really everything you hoped it would be? Or is it always, I need more? And you only find that satisfaction truly in Christ. And that's why I appreciate such the warning you give to the people who have that crash. And I think that crash is God's grace. He's taking the thing away that you're worshiping that's not him. And then it becomes don't have the Jonah moment. Like, don't keep running, right? Don't get on the boat to Nineveh. Don't keep chasing after something in anger against a God who loves you. Like, just submit and say, yeah, I'm wrong. And then,
well, there's so much more freedom there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. That's a hard thing to understand. And as a teenager, I didn't get that. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of teenagers out there that don't get that because they're still living at home and they've got provision and their parents are taking care of them and they got a car and they've got gas in it. And
yeah.
So they're just kind of just moving along. Mm-hmm. But the concerns of life, no matter what they are, when you understand that no matter what it is, the Lord is going to take care of you.
Yes.
And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, and I'm not going to say you're going to like it. Mm. Yeah. But there is a place to go.
Yeah, and I love that too, because as we've both have grown up, husbands, fathers, mortgages, jobs, right? Like you see the concerns can compound exponentially, right? Like if you're the college student, you're probably in a place where you have more free time and less responsibility than you'll ever have in the rest of your life.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, because your bills are not big, your time is plenty. And I remember being in college and being like, I'm so busy. I wasn't busy. I had plenty of free time. I don't know what I was doing with it, but I felt busy. But the thing was, as you get older, you start to see God come through and you start to see him provide and you start to see him, once again, you might not like it. There's moments where you're like, ugh. But
I don't like some of the stuff that goes on now.
Yeah.
But when it's all said and done, it's for my best.
absolutely. And we know that because scripture says so.
Correct.
Right? And that's back to what you said. It's a very simple thing that we as humans can make very difficult. It's like God's word says this is what's good, right, and beautiful. And you're trying to say that this over here is what's good, right, and beautiful. That's not going to work. And in fact, like I would call this a lot of the Charlie Kirk effect. His videos were a lot of that. It was just, you're saying this thing over here is where human flourishing is found. God says that his word and the gospel is where human flourishing is found. Why do you keep trying this when we know what is actually true?
Well, and the thing about that, what is good, right, and beautiful and perfect. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can be killed for that.
Yes.
And you know what? It's still good, right, beautiful, and perfect.
Yeah.
Because when at the end of all of that, I'm with Jesus.
Yes. Yes. At the end of all that, you're hearing, well done, good and faithful servant.
Correct.
And you're not afraid of that day.
No.
Like one of the things that I've just garnered working with students and knowing my own heart at the age of 17 is like, when there's uncertainty around Christ, there's such a fear of that day, the day of death, the day of seeing Christ on Judgment Day. I'm not afraid of that day at all. Not because of anything I did, but because I trust the scriptures and what Christ did for me. And
right.
when you get on that day, it's like, what do you do to deserve to be here? I'll just point to Jesus. I mean, that's all I got.
if it was things that I could do, I wouldn't be there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's just the beauty of the gospel. And that's what transforms. That's the freedom you're talking about.
Right.
Because I ask students all the time, I go, define freedom. And they're like, it's like college, like going to college. That's what freedom is. And I'm like, all right, A, no. But B, that you're thinking of it as like a term of freedom of like having the ability to do whatever you want. It's not, but that's not, freedom is being freed from the shackles of sin and the shackles of bondage to the things that lead to more slavery, that lead to the uncertainty, that lead to the just the brokenness that we all feel. And Christ is like, hey, I'm here to free you.
Well, the thing about it is that freedom that we both hear kids talk about, basically those are seeds that are planted that are going to produce fruit,
Yeah.
whether it be good fruit or bad fruit.
Yeah.
And if it's the bad fruit, it's in my story, it creates stuff that you got to deal with later.
Yeah.
And who wants to do that?
Well, and the thing is, I remember being a high schooler and having some people that I was surrounded by tell me that like what I needed to do in that season of life was to, quote, have the fun now because you can't have it when you're older. And that, once again, is right back to what seeds are you planting? And we both know where that road leads, right? It doesn't lead to
destruction.
Yeah, you don't want to go there. It's a lie. And, it's kind of like, let us pay your dumb tax so that you don't have to go and do it yourself.
Oh, for sure.
But here, so just a couple last words. Any word of encouragement to either maybe the person last word of encouragement to the person who has hit that kind of like just that place where they're at rock bottom, the idol's been stripped from them and they see it. Or maybe the parent who is dealing with the kid who was in the places that you were and is just ready to throw the towel in. And those might be two different words of encouragement.
Well, they are, but
yeah.
Those are two fantastic questions. And because I deal with teenagers every day.
Yeah.
And if they're in that place, and this could be my 21-year-old son, mm-hmm. Don't run. Mm. Now, it's the easy thing to do. It's to get up and chase after yourself because you've been doing it.
Yeah.
Find the word. Find the scripture. Mm. And specifically ask Christ for direction.
Yeah.
And then follow those directions. And I know that sounds overly simplistic, but it's not hard.
Yeah. He didn't make it difficult.
No, I mean, the whole path to Christ is an easy path. Now, once you accept Christ, it becomes difficult. Mm-hmm. But to get there,
yeah,
it's. I mean, he doesn't require you to do anything spectacular.
Yeah. It's just lean on him.
Just lean in.
Yeah.
And then the next part is going to be difficult, but you know what? But he's going to be there with you.
Yeah.
It's there's that metaphor where, you're walking down the beach and there's one set of footprints and you say, Lord, you left me. He said, no, dude, I carried you.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the Christian life.
Yeah.
So as teenagers, as young adults, find a good place to worship,
Mm-hmm.
find a good place to serve.
Yes.
And find a time to get with Jesus, speak to God, and chase that part of it.
Yeah.
And that's not hard if you'll just do it.
Well, I love the fact you said serve, because, we send our kids out, our students out to serve, and, they some of them will grumble, and then they get back and they're like, oh, that was actually, like, I'm glad I did that, because we were created to do that.
Well, we're created to do that, but if you're serving, it's hard to make yourself an idol.
Yes, because you're focused on serving
Right.
someone else. You want to meet someone else's needs as opposed to having all your needs.
That's exactly right.
So what would be your last word maybe to the parent who is raising, 17, 21-year-old Trey Lawrence?
Well, it's going to be hard, but I would hope that my parents would say every second of conflict was worth it.
Yeah.
My parents planted all of these seeds and did all of this stuff to put me in a position to where I can share the gospel.
Yeah.
And I get to do that.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here doing this,
Yeah.
which you asked me 20 years ago, and I'm going to say that's absolutely insane. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. But God has done such a work, and it was through a lot of those seeds that they were faithful to sow.
Exactly.
Well, Trey, I appreciate that. I appreciate your time and joining the podcast and just getting to share just what the Lord has shown you. And I think even as a dad with 4 kids, like what you have said is such an encouragement to me to stay the course, because 4 kids, we could end up in 4 different places, right? I could have the one kid that's super compliant, loves Jesus, and then you got some in the middle, and you got one that goes way wayward, right? You just don't know. But it's like, keep doing what God has called you to. Worry about being faithful to what He's called you to do today.
And there are blessings going to be in that.
For sure. He'll meet you in the storm. He'll meet you in the season. And I bet if your dad was sitting here, he'd say there was blessings in working through all of the difficulty that was there.
Exactly.
And so I appreciate that encouragement. And I want to thank our audience once again for joining us on the Courageous Conversations podcast. And we hope to see you guys again here soon on the Courageous Conversations podcast.